classroom. Today for class 10 we are doing English literature, English literature, Merchant of Venice, Act 3, Scene 3. Fine. The scene takes place in the street of Venice. Enter Shylock, Salerino, Antonio and the jailer. Now, if you download any link and if you study from the internet, this Salerino might be written as Solenio. No problem, it's the same person. Now, Shylock says, "Jailer, look to him. Tell me not of mercy. This is the fool that lent out money gratis. Jailer, look to him." Who is this fool? This fool is Antonio. Now, you must be remembering that Antonio lent money without interest, and therefore today Shylock calls him a fool, and since his bond has been forfeited, Shylock tells the jailer to take care of Antonio. Now, Antonio pleads. Antonio says, "Hear me yet, good Shylock." Remember, it is the same Antonio who would insult Shylock openly in the Rialto. Today he calls him good Shylock. And why does he call him so? He calls him good Shylock because now he knows that his life depends on the mercy of Shylock. Shylock, of course, doesn't show mercy. Shylock says, "I will have my bond. Speak not against my bond. I have sworn an oath that I will have my bond. Thou callest me dog before thou hadst a cause. But since I am a dog, beware my fangs. The Duke shall grant me justice. I do wonder, thou naughty jailer, that thou art so fond to come abroad with him at his request." This is what Shylock wants to say. First of all, he insists on having his bond. Which bond? It is the same bond that was mentioned in Act 1, Scene 3, where 3,000 ducats were involved for 3 months. Antonio was bound, and if Antonio would not be able to repay the money, a pound of flesh would be cut from his body. So then Shylock goes on to say, "You would call me a dog, and now since you've called me a dog, beware of my teeth. In other words, I can bite." After that, Shylock turns to the jailer and says, I am surprised that you, jailer, you're so fond, means you're so foolish that you have let Antonio come out. Why have you let him come out? In other words, Shylock accuses the jailer of foolishness. Fine. Antonio still requests, says, "I pray thee, hear me speak." Of course, Shylock will not listen. Shylock says, "I'll have my bond. I'll not hear thee speak. I'll have my bond and therefore speak no more." Remember, Shylock has taken an oath in a synagogue. He's promised to take nothing but the bond. And then he goes on saying, "I'll not have made a soft and dull-eyed fool to shake the head, relent, and sigh and yield to Christian intercessors. So I will not have any mercy on you." Then he says, "Follow not, I'll have no speaking, I will have my bond." There's nothing to explain there. All you have to understand is that Shylock insists on having his bond. Now, after that Shylock goes out, exit, and Salerino says, "It is the most impenetrable cur that ever kept with men." He is referring to Shylock. The word impenetrable means unkind, cur means dog, kept with men means stayed with men. Of course, Antonio cannot be comforted by that. He says, "Let him alone. I'll follow him no more with bootless praise. He seeks my life. His reason well I know. I oft delivered from his forfeitures many that have at times made moan to me. Therefore he hates me." Okay, so Antonio gives up all hopes and he says, "I am not troubling Shylock with any of my bootless, meaning useless requests." And Antonio says that he knows why Shylock seeks his life. Antonio goes on to say that very often he has repaid the debts of people who have borrowed money from Shylock, and this way, naturally, Shylock could not take interest from them. Therefore, Shylock incurred a loss. Hence, it's very natural that Shylock hates Antonio. Okay, Salerino says, "I am sure the Duke will never grant this forfeiture to hold. Which forfeiture? The cutting of the pound of flesh. And Salarino says, I am sure the Duke will not agree to this bond, because if a pound of flesh is cut from your body, then what happens, Antonio? Then you might die, and the Duke cannot allow that. Now this is what Antonio says to that. He says, the Duke cannot deny the course of law. The Duke cannot say no to any established law. For the commodity that strangers have with us in Venice, if it be denied, will much impeach the justice of the state, since the trade and profit of the city consisteth of all nations. Meaning, first let me tell you the meaning of commodity in this case. Commodity here means trust, and strangers are foreigners, aliens. Remember, if Shylock is an alien, Antonio is a natural citizen, Salenio is a natural citizen, but Shylock is an alien. Now, these aliens, these foreigners, have some rights in Venice. And why are their rights safeguarded? Their rights are safeguarded because the trade of the city depends upon them. So what happens if you do not pay attention to their rights? Then they might not feel secured, then they might not be willing to invest in the business of the city. Therefore, the Duke cannot say no to Shylock's lawful plea. Fine. Therefore, go. These griefs and losses have so baited me that I shall hardly spare a pound of flesh tomorrow to my bloody creditor. So then Antonio says, so this worry and this tension has reduced me so much that I am sure by tomorrow there will be no pound of flesh on my body for my bloody creditor, for my cruel creditor, that is Shylock. Well, jailer, go on. Then he tells the jailer to lead him on, and then he says, pray God Bassanio come to see me pay his debt, and then I care not. After that, I don't care. I just want, this is Antonio's last wish. He just wants to see Bassanio once. And remember, Bassanio is in Belmont. He has chosen the casket. Yes, and also remember that Bassanio is about to come to meet Antonio, but Antonio doesn't know that. Antonio feels, let Bassanio just come once to meet me, and after that I don't care if I die. And with that we end today's lesson. For important links, please go to the description box. Thank you.